Audio is now going. Okay. You read the title. I missed first stage of Corn Ferry Q School, and then I missed Latin American Q School. What happens next? I think a better first question would be what happened. So let's start there. In preparation for first stage, I was executing perfect practice sessions. I was playing 18 holes every day. I was doing everything I could to make sure that my game stood up to the most pressure imaginable. And it did. Day of the first round, I was a mess. Blake Mullen was caddying for me. He can probably attest to this. I was on the car ride out to the first round of first stage. There was no music in the car. There was no talking. I could barely breathe. I was about to start freaking out. I don't know if he can attest to those last two, but it was not a good mental place that I was in going into that first round of Q School. And we showed up about an hour and 10 minutes before a round, and I spent my first 15 minutes at the course just sitting in my car trying to get myself to relax. Mainly because I knew that there was no amount of warm-up that would prepare me for the round quite like getting my brain to stop freaking out. And I know this isn't fun to talk about. It's probably not fun to listen to, but this is reality. My brain was screaming, just go home. If you go home, you won't fail. And I know that sounds insane. Because it is. That amount of stress will make you insane. Well, I sat in my car for about 15 minutes and finally kind of got to the point where I felt like I was willing to accept whatever was coming, which was kind of just the biggest thing for me. I needed to feel like I was ready to accept what was going to happen next. I warmed up and headed to the first tee. I roasted my drive down the first fairway, ended up birdieing my first hole. Actually, shout out to whoever drove by when I was getting ready to hit my second shot into the first green at Q School. I had a fan drive by and say, good luck, Ben, go get him, whoever it was. Thank you for that. That was awesome. Birdied that hole. Parred my next hole, made a good par. Bogeyed my third hole, kind of started to think, oh no, let's not let this unravel. And then I birdied my fourth and fifth hole, and I was off to the races. I felt like I played a really solid round of golf that day, considering the level of stress and how much was riding on that round. I hit the ball, honestly, really, really freaking good and just didn't quite make enough putts, which you're going to see as a theme for this week. I had 2 3 putts, and I was 2 under through 15 holes. And going into the 16th hole, I honestly felt really solid. But on the 16th hole, I had a mental lapse. There's out of bounds left, and I started thinking, don't go left. And I hit it literally like 75 yards right. So I re-tee, hit a 2-iron, which was the only good decision I made pretty much that entire hole. Decided not to try to pump another driver out there. Hit 2-iron in the fairway, hit 8-iron, tried to hit it at the middle of the green, but subconsciously pulled it towards this pin that was tucked left, short-sided myself, lipped out the bogey chip, lipped out the double putt, and next thing I know, despite having played really good and managed my emotions and prepared well, I'm 1 over through 16 holes. And then I par 8, miss a 10-footer on the last hole. It was about a 510-yard par 4. I left myself a 10-footer for birdie and missed it. And all of a sudden, I'm over par for the first round of Q School despite having played really good. I feel like an older version of me would have taken that sequence of events and just gone, well, we tried our best. There's not a whole lot we can do from here. We have been screwed. That old me's not there anymore. The new me is there. And the new me was able to say, we're still playing really freaking good golf. We might have shot 1 over. We might be 3 shots outside the number. But we're playing really freaking good golf. And we went out the next day and played really freaking good golf. I shot a smooth 69, got myself, I believe, 1 shot outside of the number from being 3 or 4 outside of it, and felt really good about the way I played the second day. The third day, again, I played really good, but my short game just let me down in a major way. I missed easy up and downs on 7, 9, 10, 12, 14. I left so many shots out there with short game. Ended up shooting 2 over for the third round. Put myself at even par. Now I'm 7 shots outside of the number. And funnily enough, knowing I needed a miracle, I don't know how, I knew I needed to shoot like 8 or 9 under to get through. That was the most relaxed. That was the best I felt going into a round of golf. Now, I bogeyed my first 2 holes, so apparently it didn't work that well, but that was the best I felt going into a round pretty much all week, and that's not nothing. I feel like that's something to take away. Bogeyed my first 2 holes that final round, and then played pretty decent golf, didn't finish great, shot even par for the week, missed by 8 shots. Honestly, just my gut reaction was I don't feel terrible because I prepared my butt off on certain aspects of my game. And for the most part, besides one thing that we'll talk about later, I executed beautifully pretty much the whole week. Hit a lot of really good drives, still had the big miss, which is what we're going to talk about. Made a really, really solid percentage of my 4 to 6 footers. Like I made all of them, which was awesome. That was what I really focused on because my stats from 4 to 6 feet are bad. They were really good that week, but where I got 8 up was on 8 to 20 footers. And I had a lot of them because I was hitting it really good, and I didn't make near enough. And I ended up losing 9 strokes on the greens, and I missed by 8. So if the putter is average that week, I get through. What I learned from this week is that I'm way better than when I started this journey. When I started this channel in 2019, I was not ready to play professional golf. I just wasn't. I don't regret the decision to turn pro. I knew it was the right thing to do. I needed to start somewhere, but I was not at the level that these guys are. And I was not even close to the level that I am now. And the fact that I was able to go out under that amount of pressure and hit the ball the way that I did, like positive strokes gained off the tee, plus 10 or whatever I was approaching to the green, all those things are amazing. And I'm so happy with how that's come around. And the work that we've done and the progress that we've made has been fantastic. But still, missing by 8, it just feels like, especially after how hard I prepared, it just felt like I was so far off. But it is important how you think about these things, because if you miss by 8 in a 4-round event, that's 1 stroke per 9. I'm 1 stroke per 9 off, which again sounds like a lot. It's almost always closer than you think. Next, talk about Latin Tour Q School. I guess I'll start by saying I did not prepare for this one as hard as I did for first stage of Korn Ferry Tour Q School, but I did prepare as hard as I could. And I know that sounds confusing and it sounds like a weak excuse, but I was mentally shot from first stage of Q School. Like, that was the most effort I'd ever put into a golf tournament, and I missed by a pretty solid margin. I just felt so unbelievably far off from where I wanted to be. Regardless, I knew I was playing good golf. I knew I was in a good spot, so I signed up for Latin Tour Q School. Mission Inn, which is nicknamed Mission Impossible. It is a pretty difficult golf course. It's one where good players tend to stand out, so I felt good about my chances to go down there and make some noise. Randy and I started working on a cut to try to minimize the big miss, because that was a really big problem, and I felt really good about how I was playing. I felt like my misses were good. I felt like I was really able to manage the golf course well. My focus for this week at Q School was conserving energy. I spent a ton of time chilling. You spend time with a group of tour pros for a week, and you will realize that there's not a lot of stuff that goes on between rounds. You warm up, you play your round, you cool down, you go relax. If you don't have it the week of, you're not going to find it. And if you go trying to find it, you're just going to make yourself worse by wearing yourself out. If you're ready, basically. And rather than trying to find the game that you want to have when you're at the golf course in between rounds, you should probably just bring it to the tournament to begin with. And I felt like I brought it. Rounds 1 and 2, I shot 74-71. I did not hit the ball great. I didn't putt great. I didn't chip great. But I managed my misses well. All my misses landed in play. All my misses gave me a shot into the green for the most part. There were a couple outliers there. For the most part, I was in between the mayo and the mustard, as Neil Schuster likes to say. Shout out to No Laying Up. I would love to be a young hitter. Hit me up. In round 3, I shot 80, and I didn't hit it a whole lot worse than I did round 1 and 2. The only difference was I was hitting it left, and when I'm hitting it left, it goes left, and it's very hard to manage. And that's that big miss, man. I mean, we're going to talk about it later, but that big miss is what has plagued pretty much my entire career. 80 was bad. 80 should not have happened. Regardless, I went into round 4 knowing I needed a miracle. Shot 3 over on the front, 2 under on the back. Classic. Normally after a tournament, there's a lot of reflection, trying to analyze everything, figure out what went wrong, what we need to do next time to be more successful. But after the final round of Latin American Tour Q School, it was weird. It was almost like I felt this overwhelming peacefulness around the whole thing. I don't know how else to describe it. Not like I was disengaged, not like I didn't care, but that I was very accepting of where I was. And where I was on paper was really far off from where I needed to be. In addition to that, Q School has this weird finality to it, where it's in the dead part of the season, so there's not another event to focus on and get ready for. It just costs a ton of money, so there's a big part of you that's like the Joe Exotic meme, like, I will never financially recover from this. In addition to that, I had just worked harder than I ever had in my entire life and come up just so short. It was almost like, I don't know if you've ever been doing like a hard cardio workout, and for the last 20 seconds, you just run as hard as you possibly can, and at the end, you're like, okay, I'm done. I can relax for a little bit. That's kind of how I felt at the end of that second Q School. I had just been burning the candle at both ends. I had run myself ragged trying to get ready for these events and got nothing out of it. Was just thinking like, God, can I keep working this hard forever and not getting results? Like, I can't be doing more, is what I was thinking. And that's not true. Like, I can't be doing more might be true from like a time standpoint, but I wasn't like, there are always things that you can change without working harder. And that's what I wasn't thinking about. I was just thinking, man, am I going to have to work even harder to get where I want to go? And the answer is no. Like, I'm working about as hard as a human possibly can on their golf game. I just wasn't working on the right things. But I wasn't seeing that at the time because I was just so distraught from missing Q School. And look, guys, you don't have to tell me. I know that this all sounds bad. This all sounds like I don't have a brain. It sounds like I'm just rolling over and giving up. But I promise you that's not what's happening. I'm just trying to give you a window into what it's like to toil as a professional golfer for years and know that you have the talent to make something of yourself. It's incredibly, destructive is not a good word, disheartening. It can be disheartening at times. Sit back and look back at your career and just think, man, I haven't done what I feel like I'm capable of. So when I went back to Salina, I ran into my coach and I kind of just told him how I was feeling. I told him how dejected I was, how tired I was of making stupid mistakes and getting my ass kicked all the time, and how I wanted to focus my energy on social media stuff and try to make a living that way. He seemed wary of the idea, but didn't say much at the time. Asked me when I wanted to come in for my next lesson, and when I did, he gave me a bit of a pep talk that kind of woke me up. I'll spare you the details, but I was reinvigorated and ready to get back to work. We dove into my experiences at both Q schools and analyzed how I could have been better in my performance and preparation. And basically what we came to is less grinding and more refining. Trying to build a good golf game is like a stonemason creating a beautiful marble statue, right? There's that initial part where you have just a big rock. And when you first start out in golf, you're just a big rock. You don't have any shape to you. You might be beautiful in your own way, but you're certainly not a piece of art. You're not a statue. You're not a Greek god statue. What I've been doing for my first 20 years of golf, and what you're doing when you first start playing golf, is you're taking a hammer and a chisel and you're just hammering stuff out. You're trying to get that rough edges. You're trying to get it to look like a person or look like whatever you want this statue to look like. And I've hammered everything out, and I've kind of started to sand down the rough edges, and I'm starting to kind of figure things out. As I've turned pro, I've started to polish. I've started to be, do the little refining things that take the final shots off your game, make you a great player and make you compete at the highest level. But what he pointed out to me is I'm going up against guys who have been refining and polishing and putting the finishing touches on their beautiful statue for 10 years now. And I've been playing at that level for more like 4 or 5. And I'm close. Like, I'm starting to polish this thing up, and it's starting to look really good, but there are still some rough edges. And if you don't know where the rough edges are, you could be polishing the wrong spot. So we figured out data analytics and anecdotal evidence that my weak spots are short game, so wedges, pretty much just wedges all around, and the big miss. The big miss with the driver is what is costing me huge right now. I had a 4-hole stretch where I hit double crosses in every single hole, and it cost me a full shot and a half every single time. If I can avoid the double cross completely, if I can just not have the double cross, and essentially the double cross means if I'm trying to hit a pull cut, cross the line with my path with an open face and hit a cut, if I cross the line with my path and I have a closed face, I have now crossed the line with both my face and my path. That ball is going to dive left and it's not going to stop. So the double cross is what has plagued pretty much my entire career. And the double cross is not caused by path for me. My double cross is caused by face. Face is too close. I also have a very strong grip. So we decided to make a change that I've been afraid to make for pretty much my entire golf career. A grip change. If you want to hear about the grip change and my journey with it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the video next week where we are talking about that. Guys, thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you did, you're a legend. This was really just an update. I don't expect a lot of people to get to the end of this video, but if you did, please subscribe. If you want to support me, it's really easy. Just subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Follow me on all my socials at Ben Haddon Golf on Instagram and TikTok. If there are other social medias you think I should be on, comment below. Let me know what those are. Love you guys. Thanks for supporting me, the channel, and my journey. I'll see you next time. Peace.